Good evening. Welcome back to Northern Maine Productions. It's getting on towards Christmas, I guess, and I thought maybe I would do a little video series here on old Christmas lights. Yeah, a lot of people love these old things. I like them quite well. I mean, I have lots of nice memories of ancient old lights that my parents used well into the 1970s, probably in the early 1980s, to be honest with you. There was a elderly lady that used to live next door when I was a kid, and she was an absolute Christmas lighting fanatic, and she had so much of this old stuff. Uh, I used to help her fix some of her lights back when I was a kid, and of course one of the ones that I helped her with was of course the old C6 lights. She had tons and tons of these old C9 outdoor lights. This string of outdoor lights here are probably actually not outdoor lights, possibly, but I don't think the wires are lacquered on these. This is it's a set of Noma lights. These date probably 1930, 1940, 1941 time frame. I'm going to say probably earlier though, because, probably around the late 30s, because it's only a 7 light string, and for many years the 7 light strings were the norm. That was about all that was available, and then later on they expanded them to, like, some sets had 10 lights, some had 15, but this is a good example of a 7 light set. I believe that this set is mostly original. This still has, I bought this set from an online auction. As you can see, it still says, Noma on that red cap. These old faded cloth wires are green and red. What makes me think that these may be fairly original is, I mean, look at I don't know if we can get a good view of that socket or not. That socket is absolutely mint inside, and even the base of that bulb is mint. It's very clean and shiny. What's odd about that is that bulb is a pre-war light bulb. It's a Mazda light bulb. These sockets are quite high quality sockets on this old string of lights. They actually have spring-loaded contacts in them so the bulbs don't come loose. This thing's, obviously these don't get used hardly ever, and they sit around a lot of the time, and very rarely do I ever have to tighten the bulbs up in this string of lights. And even if they do come loose, they'll screw out a long ways before the bulb actually stops working. Fortunately, all of the bulbs were still working in this set. This beautiful old inside coated, that's a blue Mazda light bulb. Let me see if I can get that close. Maybe we can get a good view of it. But very beautiful colors. Obviously I'm not going to leave these on too long because I don't have a dimmer here with me, and I don't really like running these at full power, but so yeah, those are quite neat to look at. very good condition for the age of them. I mean, these wires are still super soft and flexible. It's got one little tiny fray mark on the cord, and it looks to me like that somebody kinked that cord into something at one point in time, but so far there's no bare wires exposed there. So while I got this string of lights out here, I'm going to show you some earlier bulbs. I have a set of bulbs here that I bought from an online vendor. I believe these came from Rhode Island. I may be wrong, but they were somewheres fairly close to the Cleveland, Ohio area. I can't even remember where they came from. I've had these things for years. I bought them about 10 years ago, but so when I got these, I shared some photos of these with a friend whose name is Thomas Carlisle, and I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but that bulb is considerably bigger. This is a standard GE Mazda Flame Bulb that was in production for years, and this is this bulb. See how much fatter that is? I'm going to show you something else that's strange about these too here in a few minutes. I have 3 of these bulbs. I had 5 of them, however 2 of them, a yellow one like this one and a red one like this one here, are now in the golden glow of Christmas past museum room. This is a red one. It would seem that these bulbs were possibly experimental bulbs that were made in the early 1930s by his chemist's name was Marvin Pipkin. He worked at General Electric, and apparently these bulbs may have went out for testing purposes in the Cleveland area. I've never seen any other ones like these ever. I've looked at lots of online auctions and things like that, and I have never. I'm going to plug these in again because I'm actually going to take a chance and try lighting these. So, one thing that differs with these bulbs from these other ones is obviously the brightness of them, but look at the color. Look at how absolutely poor the color coding is inside of these things. It appears that they were probably hand painted with a brush before the bulb was actually assembled. Mr. Carlisle he told me that he believed that Mr. Pipkin was building these bulbs by hand. This blue one is quite bad too. If you look at that up close, I mean, there is just a lot. It's not uniformly coated at all. It doesn't even hardly resemble the production bulbs. But so I guess we might as well turn this red one on too. Again, the color rendering is quite poor on that bulb there too. Yeah, anyways, so yeah, those are apparently pretty rare. I guess. I'm going to put these back into their protective sleeves here before they go rolling away and get broken or something. If indeed these are that old, it would be a shame to actually lose them. But yeah, anyways, I emailed some pictures of these bulbs to Mr. Carlisle, and he was very interested in them. He emailed me back and he inquired about getting a yellow one and a red one. So I, of course, honored that, and now they have since been put on loan to the Golden Glow Museum. So I have some really early imported C9 bulbs that I will demonstrate here. These two that I have here are probably from the late 1920s, early 1930s. These are exterior painted C9s. And that one's got a fairly substantial burn mark on it, but very, very beautiful color green. That's like an emerald green color. Sad that the paint's burned. But, and the other thing that I noticed about this bulb, that bulb is actually frosted. It's like, it's not clear glass, that's etched glass. So that kind of adds an even more interesting effect to that bulb. And that bulb, those old bulbs, they get extremely hot. I think this one's really bad looking, but I think it does actually still work. It does. There's a good example of that etched or frosted glass. That bulb was yellow originally. Trying to get these in, keep these in the camera here so you can see them, but anyways, so that's a good look at some of the older C9s that I have. So I'm going to shut these off for now and we'll move on. So we'll clear the table off here. Get a different string. Later on, finding folks from Japan started importing these. These are probably from the 1960s, late 60s, maybe even early 70s. These are the Japanese version of the old Flame C9. As you can see, the flames are gone, but these bulbs here are actually still internally color coded. This string, I doubt, has very much time on it because it still has the rubber washers on it, and they are actually still very flexible. Typically when I come to these are just, usually those rubber washers just chip and break right off there. That's your typical old. This string of lights is typically not the most desirable style of socket. These things are usually pretty trashy. They're called a clamshell socket. It's a two-piece. It fits together in a clamshell. But this set actually works perfectly because there is absolutely no corrosion at all inside of those sockets. The bulbs actually all stay lit. Let's plug them in here and take a good look, take a little closer look. And the green just, well there, they just made a liar out of me because that bulb right there does not want to stay on. Well there, There, it's on now. Those sockets are just terrible. But the bulbs are quite nice. These things have very nice uniform color to them. The colors are rich. And they're quite bright. These would be a 10-watt light bulb. They needed that 10 watts of brightness to get through that interior color coating that's apparently not very transparent. Anyways, I have some other GE light bulbs here. These would be 1978 era light bulbs. These are no longer ceramic coated bulbs. They have an exterior paint coating on them. These were quite bright. I think these were reduced to 6 or 7 watts. I don't know. Might still be a 10-watt bulb, but I don't think they are. But the red's pretty nice. However, the greens from that time frame, the green color rendering is just awful. The green is not very transparent at all. I never did really like the looks of them. I think the blue ones might be okay. I guess this is actually not. I think this is a D14. It is. That's a 1960s D14 light bulb. It's still got the GE etch on it, and those are quite nice. They're a little bit light blue. They're lighter colored than these ones here. However, they are brighter. These Japanese blue bulbs are notoriously dim, and they get extremely hot too. Man. This is a good example of what happened to those GE exterior coated light bulbs. The coating was quite poor on them. I think this one does actually still light up. It sure does. And then we have the translucent red GE light bulb. I don't believe this is a blinker light bulb. It is not. It's a solid. Be a Mary Bright, I believe. GE Mary Bright. Beautiful coloring, but again, you know, these things hang outdoors for years and years, and the rain and water gets to that color coating and it starts to come off, unfortunately. But this, of course, is just a modern Chinese or Japanese imported bulb. Typical paint's coming off. They last. They're not a super long lasting bulb, but so I've got some of them here that are quite old though. But anyways, I probably better unplug these things before they start burning holes in this desk. But yeah, you know, these are, wow, don't them get hot. Yeah, that's a good look at, you know, the old-fashioned C9 light bulbs. I like those lights very well. I don't have too many of these sockets, thankfully. And of course, we've got the Walmart specials from about 1998, probably. These will be translucent bulbs, and I think there might even be some blinker bulbs in this string. Looks like there might be some burned out or loose or something here. Yeah. Yeah, this is just your typical old string of lights. I still use these ones every year. These have hung outdoors in my house for years and years. These bulbs have lasted very, very well. Oh, yeah, there is a blinker or two in there. Another one there too. Huh, neat. Now these blinker bulbs are not original to this set of lights. In fact, I put them in here. These blinker bulbs are probably from the 60s probably. They're just cheap Japanese imported bulbs that I had laying around at random here, but you know, they blend in quite well. You wouldn't even know the difference. When you put these things outdoors at night, you can't even differentiate the difference between 1990s and 1960s. They're all very nice. And these ones are pretty energy efficient too. These ones are 5-watt light bulbs. Same as the modern C7. But yeah, so this is what I use. I mean, I don't use my ancient old-fashioned lights too much, but I use these ones all the time, every year. Anyways, I guess I'll shut those off. Anyway, I just thought I would show you guys some of these really old and sort of obscure C9 light bulbs. I wish I had some more of the ceramic bulbs, and I wished I had some of the GE and Westinghouse blinker lights for the outdoor C9s. I really always liked those really well, but unfortunately they're pretty hard to get now, and when you do find them, people want a lot of money for them. So anyways, I'm sure at some point in time here before Christmas gets here, I'll dig up some other treasure here and we'll talk about them, and I'll give you a demonstration of them. Anyways, I'm signing off, I guess. Have a good evening.